All right, welcome back to beautiful Hoover, Alabama, site of the SEC Media Days. Time to talk to Matt Stinchcomb again. And like Matt and all our guests appearing here on Miami Sports Radio 560 WQAM, they appear on the Toyota of Hollywood hotline. You can get their lowest price today at toyotaofhollywood.com. And Matt is here, of course, for the Good Works Team Award from Allstate. And we'll get to that in a minute. But down in Miami, we have a little Georgia flavor. Originally Canes flavor,
right,
of course.
Yeah.
And the new head coach is Mark Richt down there for the Canes. And I know you just left. Your brother John played for Coach Richt. So your thoughts, first of all, on what happened in Georgia, because last year when we were here, we were talking about Mark Richt unbelievably is on the hot seat. And sure enough, it cost him his job, and he ends up – we're blessed, we think, in Coral Gables to get a great man and a great coach.
What was last year y'all's first year up here?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so you missed the previous 7 years of Mark Richt hot seat talk? I mean, it's just somehow that guy was on the hot seat all the time, and all he was doing, we were talking about this, all he does is win 10 games a year and takes that program to really unprecedented heights.
But remember, Georgia's the only one not winning national titles.
No, yeah, you're right.
Everyone else in the SEC is winning national titles.
Yeah, somehow there was 13 national championships this year, guys.
Right. You know.
It's interesting because it was like a double switch. You know, you get Kirby Smart, who in my mind I played with the guy at Georgia. You know, he's an Alabama guy, and now but he goes back to his alma mater at the University of Georgia. You got Mark Richt going back to Miami, but he's a Georgia guy. It's just it's interesting how over time you just kind of start assigning these guys, certain connotations, affiliations, allegiances to wherever it is that they're coaching. For 15 years, yeah, I mean, you kind of become kind of a Georgia guy. But the fact that he's back at his alma mater, the fact that it kind of ended the way that it did Georgia, it was unceremonious. For a coach that was as accomplished as he was, I think a lot of people would have liked to have done it differently. The fans never really got a chance to say goodbye to the guy after all that he did. And the reason why Georgia is the job that it is now, and the reason why Kirby Smart probably has to win more than 10 wins a season for it to be considered a success, is because of Mark Richt. We were there. Kirby was there. He was playing there when we couldn't give the job away. You know, Glenn Mason shows up, meets with the team, flies back to Kansas and says, I don't want to coach these guys. And, we ended up hiring Jim Donnan. We had 3 head coaches inside of 10 days. That's not a good look. That's not an elite program. You know, coaches don't turn down your offers. Mark Richt comes in there, and he makes that program what it could have been and probably never was prior to or after the Dooley years. And so now Kirby Smart comes in, and he gets to the goal, the mission, really the edict is you got to stand on this guy's shoulders and make it more than what it ended up being towards the latter half of Mark Richt's tenure. If Kirby Smart can do what Mark Richt did in the first 5 and 6 years that he was there at Georgia, and then he did with relative frequency in the second half of his years at Georgia, then it'll be a tremendous success. You play for 3 SEC championships, you win 2, you end up playing for 3 more?
But that's not enough.
It's not enough. It's not enough. But the thing is, if he can do that in the first 5 or 6 years, man, that is a victory.
I made this argument for Mark Richt, and I've said this before, so I'm repeating myself, but if he was playing by today's Final Four standards, Georgia would have been in the Final Four.
Yes.
He would have had chances to win the national championship. He would have been involved in those Final Four games. Unfortunately, when he had his best teams, there wasn't a college football playoff.
That's right.
It was a voting system, and sometimes that voting system, other teams capitalized on other games. LSU snuck in one year with 2 losses. 07. So other things happened because of the voting system. So I do think guys like Mark Richt or Steve Spurrier, I mentioned this with our basketball team, Jim Larinaga, you can put them anywhere. They are survivors. There's nothing that they haven't seen, and they know how to win.
Yeah, I know. Miami fans should be very excited. They should be very excited because of Mark Richt. They should be very excited because of Thomas Brown, because of Craig Kuligowski. I mean, the staff that he's been able to put together, the idea that you've got a guy in Craig Kuligowski as his defensive line coach. So how many people get all fired up over a defensive line coach? That guy's a magician. He's a sorcerer. I don't know what he did in Missouri. I don't know how he got the productivity that he got out of the players that they recruited. Take nothing away from those kids. Nobody was chasing those guys down. Nobody's going out of their way to try, oh, man, Marcus Golden, we got to get him. Michael Sam, whoa, what do we got to do? Charles Harris, wow, we got to sign this. He's a basketball player. And then you get a guy like Craig Kuligowski, and he turns them into these menaces. I mean, the guys that are changing games from the defensive line position, the defensive end position. You don't have to blitz. You don't need to. We'll get up in the backfield anyway. And the idea that you can be in South Florida and recruit to that, and you can take guys that are probably starting out 2 and 3 steps ahead of the talent that he had at Missouri, that's a scary proposition. It's D-line U. Could be D-line U again.
Would be nice because we need to get back to that. They haven't had a lot of those hogs in the middle.
We could steal a few of these guys walking up and down here.
Yeah, that would be nice.
We'll take them.
They're pretty off the bus.
The Saps, the Russell Marylands, the Jerome Browns.
Vince Wilfork. Yeah, I mean,
Vince Wilfork. Those
Jerry
guys.
Ball.
We don't have those guys anymore. They need to get – but I think Mark will get those guys. It's going to take him a couple years because he didn't inherit a low – put it this way. Saban, while he has been phenomenal, what gave him a nice start was what Shula left him. Shula actually left him some pretty talented teams that he was able to then – Mark does not have that right now at the University of Miami. Some of our fans don't realize that, and they're probably going to take it out on him unfairly, but it's going to take Mark probably 2 or 3 years to get his guys, right, Josie? I think it's going to take him a little while.
Well, I think he understands how to recruit those different pockets in the South. You got to recruit in Dade and Broward County. We all understand that. But defensive tackles, if you take a look at them,
they're not in South Florida.
They are coming from pockets in the South.
Yeah.
And I think you have to have those relationships there. Yeah. And for a long time, if you were to go into one of those small towns in Georgia that produced a linebacker for Florida, Miami is like a foreign city to some of the moms and dads.
Sure, yeah.
With Mark Richt, he's going to be able to bridge that gap. So a lot of it is geography, and a lot of it is relationships.
Yep.
All right, now, Matt, you are here for Allstate and the Good Works team. Tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, it's the 25th anniversary for this team. And for a long time, the AFCS, American Football Coaches Association, the whole idea was to make sure that the recognition was made for what these kids, the guys that play college football, the guys that we talk about on Saturdays, and some guys that we don't know about, but that are on these teams, they're doing tremendous things. They're winning championships in their communities, and they recognize there's more to football, to life than just what they're doing on the football field or in a classroom. And so that's what this team is all about. So we'll recognize typically 11. This year it'll be 12. 12 guys at the FBS level, and then 12 players from all the other divisions of football, including NAIA, and then a coach. And incidentally, this is the first time that we've done this. I'm on the selection committee. Mark Richt is one of the nominees to be a coach named to this Good Works team. Every team needs a coach, and I can think of no better man to be on that team. And I'll be interested. He certainly got my vote, whether or not he ends up being selected in this season, because it is a unique year and that is the 25th anniversary. But that's the whole point. The whole point is that we're not looking to obscure the problems in and around college football, and there are plenty, even in this conference. There have been quite a few off-the-field issues, and that's grossly understating it, frankly. And at the same time, that doesn't mean that we can't take the time to point out that there's a lot of really good that's coming out of these programs, and it vastly outweighs the bad. And so that's what this team is about, to point out that these kids are saying, yeah, you know, I had a great game on Saturday, and now I'm going to either go lead a couple of my teammates. We're going to build a Habitat for Humanity house. We're going to speak to kids. I'm going to start a foundation, and it's going to be, you know, up to us, I think, is the moniker that we've seen a lot. And it's about sexual assault on college campuses. And these guys recognize the issues and problems that exist at their respective schools, and they're standing up for it, and they're leading it, and they're creating organizations that address those issues if they don't already exist on their campuses. You can't say enough about what that means just societally, beyond the fact that they're playing football on 12 Saturdays in the fall.
That is great stuff. Matt Stinchcomb joining us here. Thank you for being so personable. Appreciate the insight, my friend. We really, really thank you.
Yeah, good luck to y'all this season. Pulling for Miami.
Oh, definitely. Well, yeah.